Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Purposely Plan Life podcast, Cap A, with my best friend, Anastasia Preston. Hey. How are we doing today, Anna?
We are doing fine. I was having to adjust and put some stuff back in order, but I'm doing great, sis.
Hey. Can you hear me okay?
That's perfect. The most perfect as it ever has been.
That's my little microphone.
Oh, that is so professional. I love it.
And of course, we're still talking about our girl.
Yay.
Obama. That's Daniel. Hey, Daniel. And and just going over a few more chapters. I was reading over even just a recap of just how her brother was this last time. We were just both talking about that last time. I just really would have liked to have an older brother growing up. But thinking about him and just his different phobias of just him wanting to explore I didn't realize he had those phobias. I think that's something I may have overlooked last time or didn't talk about.
The fire phobia. Remember the fire phobia?
Right. That's what I was going to bring up. Just the fire of how he had his dad on the floor and just made him go through all that process. But the one thing I did like, it taught them all, the whole family, how to be prepared for, anything, the things that you can control in life, that those things that you always should try to, take effort to do. That's one thing I am trying to get better with as far as timing in life, but just everything, making things intentional that you can control. But so many things in life you cannot control, but the things that you can control, you should try your best to, put those things into perspective every day. I really liked how, even though he was so young, he taught the entire family how to prepare that. And even the dad looked at him differently, just from him trying to think about that as far as helping him to prepare. And it was just amazing to just think about their mindset as children, to care about their dad. Like, oh yeah, mom can get out, she's Superwoman. That's a whole nother concept right there. Mom can get out, she's agile, she's Superwoman, she'll get out, but we gotta take care of daddy. But
hey dad, I'm gonna pick you up, and dad said, well, we've gone far enough, son, this is enough.
This is where we stop. I do appreciate you thinking about it.
Yeah, if it were a real situation, yes, he would pick his dad up and get on out of there.
Right. But yeah, I liked how he said, we don't have to go all the way through this right now. But, I guess just knowing that he had them, and they, that they were just going through that process, that was huge for me, just to think about that. Sorry, I just had to jump in there, but I didn't want to think about, I didn't want to forget that, because I forgot to talk about that last time. But just, so what were some things that stuck out to you in this chapter?
I totally loved, and I might be reaching back for chapter 4 into 5, but I really appreciated, going through the experience of her getting older, going from 3rd grade, moving through. Now she's at the 3-year-old school, brand new school. She has to travel 90 minutes both ways. I remember when I was a teenager, happened to get on a city bus because the school bus, I lived too close, but not far enough to have a school bus come pick me up. So either I was walking to school or I had to get on public transportation. So for her to say, sometimes it was easy, sometimes it was hard. And that first day, she had such issue with, well, who am I? Am I really one of the smart kids? Am I really one of the smart kids? Or I'm just, or am I just the best of the bad group? Am I the best of the bunch?
And bad bunch. I love how she said, am I good enough? And you think about her saying that as a young self, like, am I good? Michelle Obama had to say, was she good enough at one point in her life? Like, I'm sure that's not the first point either, but,
Teenagers. We were all going to 7th grade. That's what made my transformation. I was superstar when I was in elementary school. Just Say No Club. I've been on TV 2 or 3 times, advertising me being in the club. I got straight A's. I had my friends. Next year, go to seventh grade. Totally different. I'm quiet.
I don't
I
do
don't know who my friends are. I don't know who I am. I went into myself. I introverted more than I ever did ever. And I'm like, who am I? Where am I at? And I was the same person, but I was in a different environment.
right.
And I had questions about my own self. Should I go ahead and do regular sports or just stick with track and field because it's a by yourself type of sport? I did not want to do basketball or volleyball because it included me having to communicate with other people. I had gone into myself so much, I was scared to talk. I was scared to be in a crowd. I did not do social. I had social anxiety as a young one, and that started in seventh grade. Where did that come from? Where did it come from? But I have heard and read some reports where, young girls, that happen sometimes to young girls and adolescents,
Yeah.
So, and that was me. And I didn't come back out of that until, man, ninth, 10th grade, 11th grade. But then by 12th grade, I was tired of school. And so then my grades had went down, from ninth grade to 11th grade, I was perfectly a 3.0, nothing more, nothing less, 3.0. And then things plummeted. So you're always asking, who am I? Am I good enough? Am I, should I be doing this? Should I go to college? That sort of thing.
Right, and I even think about myself as far as the transition because I've always been different, but instead of embracing my difference, I've always tried to run from it. I love theater, and I love things that were unconsidered black at that time. Just
Yeah.
you into this, you're into that,
Things that
and
were not socially acceptable
not
by our,
socially acceptable.
yeah,
And that's something that I wish I had tapped into more. Just loving who I was, just loving my differences. Even then, fifth and sixth grade, I loved show choir, and I loved what they were doing
yeah,
with me. And I loved, and I thought about Michelle Obama even because my parents were on it, but we stayed in that type of neighborhood. We were there. I don't like to
yeah,
say ghetto, but that's not ghetto is a mentality. So I
yeah,
feel like that's where you are, But we stayed in not the best neighborhood, but we had a good community. People around us loved us, and that's what matters. But at the same time, I knew that we were on a strict budget. Even though I was in show choir and I was wearing the cute little fancy dresses and this and that, I was at. But at the end of the day, I was just my mom was so much like Michelle Obama's mom in the way that she would have a meal prepared for me after her 12-hour day, after my father's 15-hour day in the factory. They would still have food on the table for me, and just like her, I would have friends come over, and I knew my mom would have some baked cookies. I knew she would have something for me, or something for
yeah,
even if she wasn't in the house because she did work.
yeah,
I knew that there would be some type of food for us prepared. And
yeah,
I had the one trip that I wanted to go to New York so bad, and I wasn't going to tell my family. I was like, I ain't going to worry about it. And just like her mom, and when they set her down, and just her dad had that conversation. He said, "That's not for you to decide if we don't have the money or not." And I was just like, "Oh my goodness!" It put me back into that fifth and sixth grade me when I
yeah,
wanted to go to New York, and I was just my mom and dad said, "If you want to go, and this is something that's going to culturally enlighten you, yes, we're going to do what we can to make sure that you go." And I couldn't believe it until I did, until they did it. It was not until they put me on that bus. I'm just like, am I really going to New York? And of course, they couldn't go with me because they had to work. So I went to New York by myself with the group, and I went to Florida the next year because they worked their butts off so that I can go, and still staying in the same house, still doing everything. Nothing changed on that part, but the fact of the sacrifices that our parents
yeah.
make that we don't
Oh,
even think about it,
definite.
especially mom, just thinking about just those different things. But that took me somewhere. And then thinking about going to high school, even though I had that confidence in middle school, I lost a lot of confidence in myself because again, I'm that tall girl. I'm different. I'm different. I'm spiritual. I'm this and I'm that. And of course, I'm way too deep or too whatever. Different. I'm different for the
Yeah,
people around me to understand. So I was constantly bullied, constantly picked on.
constantly
Even in high
questioning.
school,
Yeah,
in high school, you'll think, oh, you stopped. No, but in high school, I was learning how to not care anymore about people
yeah,
picking on me or people thinking outside of me, because me thinking outside the box was a bad thing. And I
Right.
started to embrace more spirituality. I'm like, Jesus would have been picked on. Jesus
Yeah.
was different, so he would have been picked on too. So I started to think about things in that perspective. But through ninth grade, I actually I realized I was really a little in a depression zone because it was so different, and that's when people were trying to find themselves, um,
Yeah.
getting more closer probably towards senior year and junior year. That's when I started to kind of break out of that introvert level and was starting to embrace myself and just love me for being me. So that
Yeah.
was
That's
that was
awesome.
that part there, and just thinking about those things, I'm just like, that is different because you
That
can't.
is right.
No one can love you but you. You have to show up for
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
But
Got to show up for.
huh?
I said I agree. You have to show up for yourself.
Right,
I agree with you in saying at that time period, your parents super supportive about the things that you're doing in your life, and they
right,
see you know and they remember when they were younger. There were times where we were, shopping at certain grocery stores, and I was so self-conscious. I would always go with my stepdad, who was a super, budget shopper. And, that's where I learned, a lot of, how I do things from my stepfather. And I'm like, I don't want to go here. My friends, I don't want my friends to see. And I look up, one of my best friends in front of the line, in front of me in line. So, that was a great lesson right there. We don't realize we're all in this. We're all doing,
I'll do it.
we're all in this struggle here. You know what I'm saying? It is a struggle for a family of six, two parents budgeting for, four children. That is a struggle that, you have to follow and see all the way through. I've had some, up and down times with, even, my own self consciousness or my own self esteem. I had gotten to a point where I was ready to leave,
Mm.
and I did. I went and stayed with my grandmother because I was just trying to figure out who I am, where I'm at, just, where you are with your friends, Um, and I ended up coming back home and, just reestablishing myself. And that's when I realized I need to go to college. I need to go on to college. So this is awesome, just going back and being able to relate to the things that she was doing, some of the same things that we were doing, trying to answer these self questions.
I'm listening to you. I'm sorry, I was trying to take a picture too.
With that statement, just us figuring things out, and I just appreciated these similarities, being able to say, oh, those are some things that I was also going through, coming up through junior and high school.
Most of us have issues. I think that's when you really exploring yourself in that regard, especially junior year, and then for me, even going into college, just trying to explore and different things of that nature. Only thing I regret as far as going into college would have been taking a little time off, maybe to go to the military. That's my only thing that I kind of regret. But I'm so happy that I have a niece right now who did. She went to the military, and that's something that she wanted to do. That was a choice that
Yeah.
she wanted to make, and I have so much respect for her. Just thinking about those different choices and how she's
Yeah.
grown, and just she does different things just like me. She's different, but at the same time, she just has such a unique spiritual self sense of who she is at such a young age, kind of like Michelle Obama,
Yeah.
in that advocacy stage for herself because she's exploring and just learning who she is at this age. So, and those are things that you have to just kind of embrace. And if you don't learn how to embrace it, then that's stepping away from something that's deep for you. So, just learning to embrace yourself and who you are.
When I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was, in the spirit of you saying embracing, I had learned to embrace myself when I left town. When I left to go live with my grandmother, I felt a whole new side of myself. I felt that I could, make friends. I felt, oh, wow, I'm being invited to the football game. Yes, I'll go. I'm not shy. You know, I was like a whole new different person in this new and different environment, and I loved that. And it was so addictive seeing this, or not seeing, but more likely feeling, you know, this new person. No, Abiel. No. Check how old it is. Stay away from it, because those are our snacks for tomorrow. I was trying to check how old it is. Well, it's very new. We'll have it tomorrow. You can have spaghetti.
Our boys.
You want spaghetti? Okay. Ava. Okay. She's a little. Hey. Going in the house. Go on in the house.
I'm going. I'm pausing this for a second. Okay, we had to take a quick little pause because we have wonderful boys that sometimes require our attention. It's COVID. We have children. So, hey, it's real. But it's coming back to part 2 of our conversation. Still talking about her mom and still talking about different things of Michelle Obama and just how her mom was, just how they were able to keep going even in a rough situation, a rough time. And again, the whole family is amazing. I just, you know, you don't think about what somebody has to overcome in their life. You don't think about Michelle Obama being in a bad neighborhood or quote unquote bad neighborhood and just things that she had to go through to get to where she is and different things. I know we don't have too much longer, but I wanted to make sure I talked about her friend. I'm going to make sure I say her name right with this. 1 second. I got to talk about the whole family too. And as far as the transition of her going from just how she went from high school to college with this friend. I want to say she was in high school with her too. Let me know if I'm wrong. Sanita.
Oh.
So just thinking about Sanita and how different she was and how Sanita would always kind of bring her into different things that just kind of open Michelle up to, you know, just different advocacy. I think, you know, although Michelle Robinson always had the drive to have her own personality and her own opinion, I think Sanita kind of opened her up to different advocacy levels. The Jackson family,
Yeah.
definitely, as far as her seeing how her mom and dad interacted and how they wanted Sanita to have those unique opinions and different in ways that they wanted her to specifically advocate for herself. And I was going to ask you what you thought about that because I'm just like, I got to know what Anna thinks about Sanita.
Well, I was thinking about the 2 girlfriends that she spent a lot of her time with.
Yeah.
That's as far as I got. I don't know too much about Danita yet. I know about the 2 girlfriends who she said, well, if I went, you know, once she'd start getting older and she wasn't just going to her brother's basketball games for support, it was turning into, oh, the cute guys are here. Well, I definitely made sure I was with my 2 girlfriends because I would get more airtime. You know, I'd get more play. I'd get more attention with my 2 girlfriends sitting up here with me in the stands. I thought that was so funny, you know. And then, you know, just seeing how, you know, she's maturing in the adolescence, you know, she's thinking about boys more.
Right.
And where being at their house, you know, the girls would be able to just sit on the porch and the guys would run their bikes up and down the street, hoping for somebody to come outside, you know.
Get them.
Hot spot for Michelle, you know, in the summertime, you know, but it didn't seem like they were sweating it too much. You know what I mean? They were still mature and they still were girls and they still had their fun, even down to when Michelle had planned her first kiss, you know, right outside on the side of the house. No way was I kissing anybody nowhere near my house. And she had comes about it.
But at the same time, I think that was all intentional. Like, okay, if I do this here and I'm not doing it somewhere else, I know mom and dad still have me some type of way. Mm-hmm. And, you know, just that, I think, you know, and I have to go back to, you know, you mentioned that I have to bring up,
safety of it, you know.
Right. Exactly right. And just it goes back to again how they were raised, and her brother. And did you how did you feel about? I'm going back a little bit because I don't want to go too far. You know what I mean? I go, I keep going. But how did you feel about her brother? Going back in a few chapters, as far as his experience, his first experience with that young lady asked him to come over to my house,
Also,
and my
I
parents are not gonna be here, and da 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 da. I was just like, oh, okay.
I loved it. And the response that their mother gave was priceless and on point. Like I said, as far as me and you were concerned just last week, we were not born with a parental handbook, but this woman,
Oh,
I need her handbook. I need her motherly handbook because she did not
thank you.
sweat it. But even from the time that they were little kids, Michelle said, well, they didn't over talk them. They didn't try to pull too much information out of them. And when it came to this situation, she simply said, well, son, you'll choose the best. Choose what do you think is right. When on the inside, maybe she was screaming like, oh my goodness, but
Sure she was. I know she
knowing
had.
their children, yeah, them knowing their children, that's what they could do. That's how they challenged them. So it was hard for him to even keep it a secret.
But again, that's the kind of children that they raise. I mean, I just thinking about that. That's what I think about my mom, and giving me that independence, and having me make those life decisions. Even though I was the baby, so they were still really tight on me. I wish I would have had more room to kind of embrace more things, but at the same time, I'm happy for just how they raised me, and I think about that even for Daniel. That's how I want him to look at me and say, I'm happy mom gave me just that amount of discipline and praise, because you have to have both. You have to have praise and discipline in order for a child to respect you, especially for me and you, because we have boys. I think that's a whole different realm. And then
Mm,
because my child is on the spectrum, he is different. They have to have consistent praise and discipline. It goes hand in hand in order to have that. But I wanted him to always say, yeah, she gave me a balance. And I felt comfortable. I felt respected, um, enough to always give mommy 100% respect. And I feel like, even with Craig, that's how they kind of are able to think outside of that box, to make those better decisions, because they have that, oh, I'm that little, okay, mom has instructed me this over a period of time, so I know what to do. I can't lie. It's going
mm,
to eat away at me if I lie
mm.
to my mom. And I didn't love the fact that he was feeling like he was being, that was getting to him like that, but I love the fact that he had to go back and say, mom, you know what, this is the truth.
Yeah,
And then I love their dialogue of, she didn't even say, I'm happy that she already knew. She knew
yeah,
my mom was lying.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They didn't mention that, but she knew, because she
Hmm.
know her kids. You know your child. We know when they're not being honest. Even with Daniel at 6 years old, I know when he's not doing something right. He'll make a face. His emotion,
Yep.
something changes. And with him being on the spectrum again, I have to be able to be more conscious of not just what's coming out of his mouth, but all of his facial expressions and his body language. I have to notice that. I even noticed that when I was a teacher in the classroom, I would notice not just what a child was saying, but their body language. Their body language and expressive things tell you everything you need to know about a child. So I can just see the mom in that book just looking at him like, oh, that's what's going on. Y'all gonna meet at the public park. Sure, y'all meet at the public park. Okay.
But she was so graceful. She was graceful. I appreciated that. That was awesome. And like a little while ago, you said, the Michelle Obama. Now she is the Michelle Obama, but then she wasn't. She came to this point. She's grown, and she has become. And I think we've all gone through and are still going through those motions of becoming.
Right. And that's one reason why I wanted to pick this book, and just to have a free book, just to think about, okay, different things of just woman empowerment, black empowerment, especially now that what we're going through as far as the community of black people of color. All of it's just a remarkable book to hold on to hope.
Yeah.
So, just that we're not just starting right here. It's not going to end here, but we're it's going to flourish. It's going to be something even better as far as what's going on in community right now. So I'm just looking for the changes of better and just the healing. Think about COVID-19, people being sick, and I'm thinking just the healing of so many things, of mental healing, of spiritual healing, of physical, but just even financial healing during this
Mm.
time. But just so many different things. But I don't want to go too far and out of the realm of the book. Did you have anything that you wanted to recap or go over?
I appreciated how her mother showed the balance as well, in the relationship in one statement, just saying, every spring I had thought about, possibly, going a different direction. And when Michelle broke that down from, when the winter time comes and it changed from winter to spring and, all the different things that her mother could have been thinking and feeling,
Right,
to wrap it up as, how things ended up being, she ended up getting a new job. And
right.
so that may have given her more of a goal or more of a purpose, in what she was doing, as a leader in the family.
And I like when she chose to go back to school. She knew that those primary ages and things. Sorry, I said go back to school, but go back to work. She knew those primary ages were probably a little too soon, but she chose to go back during her high school time. I guess she saw, she said the boy is getting the boy. This is called our boy, but he's getting older. He's actually becoming more mature. He's in basketball. He's doing this, and now I have a young lady who's developing into a young woman. It is time for me to go back to the work. Just those things. It could have been a financial issue too, but I'm sure just her reevaluating different things of just how her life was transitioning. I think it's important as a parent always to look at those things as well. Since this little person is tagging on to me, but just thinking about that, that was huge to me. Just to think about, okay, I'm going back when you're in high school, because I just thought about how she was always present for everything that Michelle was doing, all the way up to that time period.
Yeah, amazing. Just the strength and the support, and that's what grows. Your children, your families. Just having that strength and support within the family.
Right. Okay. I can't be outside long without him wanting me to chase him around. So I'm gonna have to probably end us in a few minutes. But I didn't want to, and next time. So I want to definitely start right on in talking about what you think about Sunita. So I want you to look at
Yeah,
Sunita
yeah,
and the Jacksons, and whoever listens to this. If you want to comment about any of this as well, as far as Sunita and that friendship, because that's a very significant part of the book, talking about Sunita and the Jackson family of this book as well. And how do you feel about, of course, the Jackson family as a whole? And also, I believe next time we talk, it will be a trivia night. Our trivia, whenever we get together, there'll be a trivia, and I want to do a live trivia. So it'll be a live trivia over just a few chapters that we've already talked about. Of course, mentioning into Sunita and that family. So I will have a few trivia questions as well. And looking forward to how we will respond on Zoom with that trivia advice. And how do you feel about the trivia, Anna?
I'm excited because I love giving away stuff.
So I'll think that's yeah. We'll come up with questions together, because I know as a teacher, with us both being teachers, we'll be come up with some really cool questions. And look
It'll be
forward to
fun.
hey, look forward to audience participation. So I'm not sure if we'll just go live Facebook. We'll figure it out before the end, but probably next. What give me a day? We'll talk about a day, and I'll put it up on the Facebook in a few days. So we look forward to that. And Anna, did you have anything to say before my son makes me go off?
Happy Saturday. Enjoy the day.
Hey, and thank you all for whoever tuned in today. I appreciate your support. Thank you for tuning in to Purposely Plan Life Cafe, Parent Cafe. I hope you all had a relaxing day. Whatever day you get a chance to watch this, it's always appreciated. And I'm gonna go ahead and end us there. And again, I do thank you for your
Okay. See ya.
support.